The Book of Boba Fett premiere is almost upon us, so today we're gonna run through his entire canon story so far as told in the films, the Clone Wars, comics, and books. Jango Fett was an orphan accepted as a foundling into Mandalorian culture. He was raised by a man named Jaster Muriel who likely passed on his armor to Jango since his name was included in its chain code. Fett grew up to become a notorious bounty hunter and was hired to become the genetic template for a secret clone army of the Galactic Republic. He agreed, and part of his payment included an unaltered clone that he could raise as a son. The Kaminoan cloners called that clone Alpha, but Jango named the boy Boba. Jango wanted Boba to carry on his name and legacy as the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy, so he took his son to various jobs to teach him the skills he would need. On a mission to Ord Mantell, some other bounty hunters betrayed the Fetts, but Boba displayed a cold-hearted nature in dealing with the traitors even at a young age, a trait that pleased Jango. When Boba was about 10 years old, Obi-Wan Kenobi finally learned of the existence of the Clone Army and Jango Fett's role in its creation. He chased the Fetts from Kamino to Geonosis, where he saw that Jango was working for the growing Confederacy of Independent Systems and their leader, Count Dooku. The Clone Wars began on that planet, and Jango was killed by Mace Windu in that first battle. Boba became consumed with vengeance and developed a plot to kill Windu by posing as a young clone cadet within the Republic Army. With the help of the bounty hunters Aurra Sing and Bossk, he sabotaged the Venator-class Star Destroyer Endurance while Mace was on board before escaping in a life pod. The Jedi Master survived the crash, so Boba set a bomb inside his father's helmet on the bridge of the crashed ship, hoping to trick Windu into detonating it. That attempt also failed, and the Jedi chased Boba and Aurra to the planet Florum. Aurra abandoned the young boy, who was captured by the Jedi and imprisoned on Coruscant. Bossk was also captured and continued to look after Boba while they were detained together. When fellow bounty hunter Cad Bane was also locked up, he paid Boba to start a distraction that would help him escape. He was captured again after a failed assassination attempt on Chancellor Palpatine, but Boba hinted that he had a plan to get out. Whatever that plan was, it succeeded, and Boba Fett began a bounty hunter syndicate called the Krait's Claw that included Bossk, Dengar, C-21 Highsinger, and Latz Razzie. He reluctantly also allowed Asajj Ventress, a former Sith apprentice, to join them on a job to the planet Korzite. When Ventress learned their mission was to deliver a kidnapped girl to an arranged marriage, she betrayed and subdued Boba and rescued the girl. Near the end of the Clone Wars, Asajj had to face Fett and hire him to help defeat Count Dooku, her former master. Although he had obvious reservations, Boba offered Krait's Claw's help when they were given 250,000 credits up front, but their attack on Dooku failed. At some point, Cad Bane took the young bounty hunter under his wing to improve his bounty hunting skills. Bane wanted to prove once and for all that he was a better hunter than Jango Fett, and he figured a new and improved Boba Fett was the next best thing. During this time, Boba began wearing his father's repainted armor and got a new Mandalorian helmet. Bane eventually forced his protege into a duel, which ended in a draw. Over the next several years, Boba did gain a reputation as one of the most deadly bounty hunters in the galaxy. On Corellia, he took a job with several other hunters, including Bossk, Bylert Valance, and Valance's mentor, Nakano Lash. But Lash learned that their target was a pregnant woman, so she betrayed her team, murdered their employer, and rescued the woman. Fett was enraged at the damage Nakano did to his reputation. By the time the Galactic Empire's first Death Star was nearly complete, Boba could often be seen on Tatooine working for Jabba, and he witnessed the gangster threatening a smuggler named Han Solo. After a young pilot from Tatooine destroyed the Death Star, Darth Vader hired Fett to track him down. While he was unable to capture the pilot, he was able to learn his name, which he delivered to the Sith Lord, Skywalker. 3 years later, Darth Vader hired him again, this time to find Han Solo in order to set a trap for Skywalker. Working against several former allies, including Bossk and Dengar, Fett succeeded, collecting the reward from the Empire, but once the trap was sprung, he was also allowed to deliver Solo to Jabba the Hutt, encased in a slab of carbonite. On the way to Tatooine, Fett received word that Nakano Lash had resurfaced, along with the daughter of the woman she rescued long ago. His desire for vengeance outweighed his need for a quick payment, so he tracked Lash down and trapped her on her doomed ship, allowing Valance to escape with the young girl. That detour didn't take long, but it was long enough to cause problems for the carbonite, which began to melt. So Fett traveled to Nar Shaddaa, where a doctor agreed to stabilize the slab and save Han Solo's life, and therefore Boba's payday. But in return, Fett had to defeat an enemy of the doctor's in the fighting pits. He succeeded, but he returned to find the doctor dead and Solo missing. Crimson Dawn, a criminal syndicate led by a former lover of Solo's named Kira, had stolen the carbonite to sell at auction, which would serve as their grand reintroduction to the galaxy. Furious at the loss of his prize, Jabba placed a bounty on Boba Fett. Fighting through the other bounty hunters, the Galactic Empire, and several criminal syndicates, Fett proved once again that he was the best in the galaxy by reclaiming Han Solo from Crimson Dawn, delivering him to Jabba, and demanding payment for his trouble. Taking a well-deserved rest, Boba remained at Jabba's palace until Solo's friends made several rescue attempts that resulted in the capture of Luke Skywalker, who Fett had nearly captured years earlier. Jabba ordered his execution at the Great Pit of Carkoon, which held a massive sarlacc inside that would slowly digest its victims over the course of 1,000 years. But Skywalker revealed himself to be a Jedi Knight, and the battle over the sarlacc resulted in the death of Jabba and Fett's unceremonious fall into the pit itself. His Mandalorian armor and gadgets allowed him to survive, but not without injury. He was left for dead in the harsh Tatooine desert, and Jawas robbed him of his armor, which they then traded to Cobb Vanth, the marshal of a nearby settlement. 5 years after disappearing from the galaxy, Fett had recovered. He rescued another fallen bounty hunter named Fennec Shand, who had been shot and abandoned in the desert as well. The two became allies and sought to reclaim Boba's armor. They tracked it from Cobb Vanth to a Mandalorian named Din Djarin on the planet Tython. Their sudden appearance led to the capture of a child under Din's care, so in exchange for the armor, Fett and Fennec agreed to help stage a rescue. When that mission was complete, the two bounty hunters returned to Tatooine and Jabba's palace, where they discovered Jabba's old majordomo, Bib Fortuna, seated on the throne. Fett quickly shot him and took the seat of power for himself. And that's the tale of Boba Fett so far. The Book of Boba Fett will continue his story, which finds the legendary bounty hunter navigating the galaxy's underworld after returning to the sands of Tatooine to stake his claim on the territory once ruled by Jabba the Hutt and his criminal syndicate. If you're newer to Star Wars and the character, you should have a good, basic understanding of his life up to this point, as well as all of his major relationships. I do want to point out that part of his story with Cad Bane is from unfinished episodes of the Clone Wars, so whether or not those events happened exactly as I described them, or even happened at all, is up for some debate. But Lucasfilm has treated many of those unfinished stories as canon, since they were developed under the guidance of George Lucas, and you can see some evidence of that all happening in The Bad Batch. If you want to try to do a last-minute binge of Boba Fett content before the Book of Boba Fett begins, I'd recommend watching Attack of the Clones, the Clone Wars episodes Death Trap, R2 Comes Home, Lethal Trackdown, and Bounty, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and the final 3 episodes of The Mandalorian Season 2. If you want to go crazy, you could also read the War of the Bounty Hunters comics, which recently finished. But that's it for today. You should be ready to go for the Book of Boba Fett, at least as far as the title character's history is concerned. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with all of our Book of Boba Fett coverage, including our live after show, The Book Report. Follow us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page, where we'll be releasing audio commentaries and video reactions for every episode as they release. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.